had a great lunch. And now let's get ready for an engaging and insightful experience as we dive into our next segment and a panel discussion on the topic of crucial for entrepreneurs. And the topic will be how important is leadership when starting a business. And we are honored to have two distinguished panelists and an exceptional moderator with us today.
First, allow me to introduce Mr. Keerthi Kodithuwakku, the Chairman and CEO of Jendo Innovations, a leader in wearable medical technology. Mr. Kodithuwakku also serves as a visiting lecturer at both NIBM and the University of Rubuna, teaching innovation and entrepreneurship. With his vast experience in IoT solutions and leadership in the healthcare sector, we look forward to his insights today.
Next, we have Mr. Rajendra Theagarajah, the independent non-executive chairman of Engenuityai Limited. Mr. Theagarajah brings deep expertise in digital payments, business strategy, and risk management, with his leadership roles including CEO positions at Cargill Bank, National Development Bank (PLC). His knowledge of financial systems and entrepreneurship will greatly enrich this.
Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for this evening panel, Ms. Thrividya Liyanaarachchi. She currently serves as the Assistant Secretary of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka and the Student and the Volunteer Activities Chair at IEEE Women in Engineering Sri Lanka. As a business analyst at Sim-Centric Sri Lanka and an active leader in promoting innovation and empowering women in technology, Ms. Liyanaarachchi brings a unique perspective to guide this important conversation.
Please join me in welcoming Mr. Keerthi Kodithuwakku, Mr. Rajendra Theagarajah, and Ms. Thrividya Liyanaarachchi on stage as we begin with the insightful panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a great lunch and hope you had a great day so far with Upskill 2024. Welcome to the panel discussion on the topic, how important is leadership when starting up a business. So as the moderators did the introductions, you all know that we have two esteemed panelists joining us today to discuss about the importance of leadership when it comes to starting up a business and how important is leadership in the world of entrepreneurship. So I will give a small introduction again as well. So to my immediate left we have Mr. Keerthi Kodithuwakku, the chairman of Jendo Innovations Private Limited, and then next we have Mr. Rajendra Theagarajah, the chairman of Engenuityai Private Limited. So welcome again, gentlemen. Before we begin, I would like to remind the audience that this session is an opportunity for you all to learn interactively. So if you have any questions about leadership and about what we do as a whole during this session, please feel free to raise your questions at the end of this session. Alright, so let's begin. And since our topic itself suggests leadership is an important aspect when it comes to this panel discussion, and I think it is best for us to start this panel discussion by focusing on what leadership means to our panelists, the both of our panelists, right? So, gentlemen, this first question is directed to both of you. The first question is, how would you define leadership in your own words? Could you share what leadership means to you personally and how that perspective has shaped your approach in leading others?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to the panel. So it's an honor to be in the panel. Thank you, and we had a really good discussion about. So with that, I will answer your question. Leadership is everything, right? For me, the reason why I am telling this is, by definition, the leadership is a skill. It's a human skill that can drive a group of people, right, to the target that leader wants with the will of the people that leader, right? So those are the key things that we want in leadership. Now when it comes to our journey, right, there are many things, right? We being humans, we are being limited by time, right? We don't have more than 24 hours, right? But we have successful people among us, right? We have successful leaders, business leaders, political leaders, right? All these kind of leaders among us. Why? Because if we all at the same time, how those people are becoming greater, right? Why those people are becoming greater? There is a reason, right? Because this leadership skill is the skill that can own other people's time on their purpose, right? That is the great strength. You may have other skills. You may have support skills, right? You may have maybe analytical skills. But all these other skills are limited from one thing, that is time. But if you are a leader, if you can identify other people's passion, and if you can align those passion with your dream, right, then those people can meet their targets by achieving your targets. Then you own their time, right? So that is the mathematical representation for this leadership. And I think the leadership is the skill that is being paid with the highest amount in this world, right? I mean, when it comes to value also, the leadership skill has highest value. And the most important thing is, in different levels, this leadership skill is there with all of us. I mean, from the very existence of our life. And the only thing is, during our education process, during our day-to-day life, we may not focus on our leadership skill, we may focus on other skills, right? And then we forget that we have that great skill within ourselves. So that is my starting point for this discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Keerthi. So let's move to Mr. Rajendra. Rajendra, I'll remind you the question. How would you define leadership?
So in my own version, I believe most of you are secondary levels. So coming from a science background, I personally believe that leadership is actually an art rather than a science. And to me, what it means is the ability of someone who is able to inspire a group of fellow people, regardless of different personal aspirations and views, to think on a common vision or a common set of objectives, with the end game of creating an impact which can be measured and be lasting. Three important attributes of leadership in that definition is there has to be inspiration. You need to be able to inspire with your own personal actions. You need to think beyond tomorrow. You need to be able to get people together to think of a common vision. That vision is been all of us lesson. And at the end of the day, it's not about the profit. That's the creating an impact. So there has to be a line to the impact. That's what I think next to me.
Thank you, gentlemen. So our second question, ladies and gentlemen, is directed to Mr. Keerthi. Keerthi, leadership doesn't always glamorous. Must be always very dynamic and very challenging, right? So our question is, what's the hardest challenge you faced as a leader, especially when things didn't go as planned? How did you approach it, and what lessons did you learn?
Okay, for me, there are many challenges. I mean, there were some challenges I managed to overcome, and there were some challenges to overcome. But There were challenges I managed to overcome because I had a great team. And I was giving good leadership that. So that is the best example I can put under this topic. Now, I will take one example. Right? You know Jendo, right? So this Jendo is an innovation that we did to identify the cardiovascular diseases, the changes of the blood vessel happening in the process of developing a cardiovascular disease in our body. So that technology was invented in University of Moderator in collaboration with Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. So when we initially did this innovation, it was again a team, right? So I personally, I believe we could do something, right? And then I wanted capable people to work on this, right? Because I knew that I couldn't do everything by myself. That's the first thing. And then there was, after we built this product, there was a bigger challenge. I didn't have any money in my pocket because I was an undergraduate, right? As an undergraduate, we can't do anything, right? Because we are not doing a job, right? So we face a lot of challenges to do that. Then again, there were people around, right? They believed in us, right? They believed what we can do. And then we managed to achieve that initial fundraising requirement for this company. Even after that, right? After that, getting this kind of internationally recognized intellectual property was a challenge. And we were looking for all the intellectual property lawyers that we can get the support in Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, we had good lawyers, but they were not capable with the medical concerns that we want in this particular area. Then John Keels came to my mind. So John Keels management, they launched this John Keels X program. So that was the time, right? And I was the winner for the John Keels X first competition. So during that program, right, John Keels offered their intellectual property partner, Marks and Clark companies at the very beginning, right? For the initial validation. Then after that also I faced the challenge about money again, right? Because I had to use these expensive things. But there was a point. If I can find money, I can gather that knowledge gap which I was looking, right? Earlier I had that challenge with intellectual property lawyers. And then I saw, okay, there are guys, right? But they are expensive, right? They have that knowledge, right? And then we managed to find money, right? And managed to get that set of people, now, right? So that is how we managed to overcome those challenges. And everything is a challenge, right? But what matters is we have a great team who believes that target we want to achieve, right? Then we can take the steps, maybe the baby steps towards that target, but it will, it will finally be paid off with the great results. So that's my answer about that question.
Thank you, Mr. Keerthi. So, since you mentioned a few thoughts that you faced during your undergraduate years, I would like to take that as an approach to the next question that is directed to Mr. Rajendra. So, Mr. Rajendra, the majority majority of the audience that have gathered here are undergraduates. So many of them are balancing academics, internships, and then even their social life as well. So I would like to ask you, how can one prioritize what's important? How can one prioritize effectively, and what advice do you have for students managing leadership roles during their student careers?
So yes, if you have any thoughts of getting into the startup ecosystem or doing something which can be a sort of a distraction while you're doing your graduate studies, you've got to understand there may be multiple challenges of that. One is you have to come to your university, complete your and get your 3 letters behind your name. Secondly, some of you may, depending on which year you are, be part of internships. Where somebody has agreed to give you an opportunity to train, whether it is paid or unpaid, you have an obligation to also reciprocate for their time and their capacity. And then of course, we all want to have a good time, we want to have networking, we want to meet people, like-minded people. But I think we need to get our priorities right. As to which comes first. For me, the pecking order would be, the first thing is get your 3 letters behind your name. If you have decided to go to university, there is nothing for a half-completed person. We have heard and read about people who have started businesses in garages, high school dropout from Stanford. That is good in markets like that, where you don't, where you have systems which are written off by the government. Here, remember, in my opinion, 2021 would be funded by Jendo of state education. There is a cost incurred by our family. Somebody's hard-earned money. The loyalty is to make sure you go through that process and commit. You can decide to do whatever you want after that, but get those 3 letters behind your name. I got the 3 letters of the CA 40 years ago. I never practiced it after that. But I did that with the reason that whenever the economy turned the other way around, I could always go and practice my education. Not that I never practiced after the first 2 years, but that doesn't fall back. That's the first point. Second thing is, yes, the internship. My offering internships to several levels across all universities in the country. And we give opportunities, we create opportunities. We want people to benefit, but the minimum you would expect is reciprocal. So you need to have responsibility. And that will also teach you the value of responsibility in day-to-day life. Social life, yes, is absolutely important, but you need to understand the priority and balance. And yes, one can always, I was talking to him regarding his application before he started. It's always the burning passion that I want to get there at the university, but for God's sake, let's finish what you started.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. So, Mr. Keerthi, I would like to ask, even though it is important to hone your leadership skills during your university years, leadership in the workplace, so in the industry out there in the world, is very different from the leadership in universities. So, what skills or qualities does an undergraduate should develop that will help them to become a better leader once they join the industry?
I think it's not different, right? It's not different. I mean, if we think that organization is different, university is different, I mean, the environment, culture, that may be different, but people's interest, their passion, what they want is almost the same, right? So when it comes to the university, right, I would like to share my own experience. Now, when we were doing our undergraduate studies, so our guys had two major choices, first choices. So they either want to go for a PhD, either go for a lucrative job, right? So what we thought was, what if we can get the third choice, right? The third choice, starting his own company will become the third choice, right? So with that passion, right? We started talking to students, we started talking to the lecturers, right? And the lecturers, even by that time, they gave me a good talk, right? So by that time, my head the department, right? He said, "Keerthi, what if we can produce 20% undergraduates who are job ready, right? Who are job ready when they are in the final semester, right?" That was a good story, right? So then we had about 100 people in our batch, right? So from the second year onwards, we were doing voluntary government projects. I was the private passionate in that. So we were doing those kind of things. Earlier, those government projects were there in the department, but no undergraduate could take it up. Only the postgraduates took it. But what happened was, most of the time, postgraduates left the project after they got the MSc or the PhD done, right? Because then they said, I mean, now we are in a sort of a situation where we have a fairly unfavorable situation to take these projects, because none of the previous projects that we did has not been completed, right? And it's a bad name of the university, and it's a challenge to give this to undergraduates, because if the postgraduates are failing, so how come undergraduates can do it, right? I mean, I didn't know about psychology. So I did this student and said, we can do it, right? And then I spoke to all the, the top people in the batch who were listening to it, and I managed to motivate them. It's not a thing, right? We can do this, right? If we do this, we will be able to practice something that we learn before we go out to the industry. And they were so keen, right? Because most of, I know this will resonate with some of you, right? Because you want to practice the things that you are learning now, right? And if you can do that before you go out to a company, that will be a great, right? And then we started with like 7 people out of that 100, right? Then we got the first project, right? Which was the finance ministry project. And then when we were doing it, right? We were able to do it successfully, right? Showing good results. And then the second project, right? We took the second project, and I took to different, and all this time we agreed not to pay anyone, right? This is pure voluntary work, right? Pure voluntary work, but they have to commit the deadline, right? Have to commit the deadline. And then with that, we managed to, I think, increase our team to about 15 volunteers, right? And then we had the third project, fourth project, likewise. I remember when I was in the third year, we had 35 people, right, out of 100. That means I'm way above the 20% target, right? And we were doing quite well, so I was the project manager, and I had set of volunteers who are working on commercial projects, but without anything, right? And then only I started thinking, okay, that's kind of a skill that I should understand, and I should team up with these people and start doing these innovative ideas that we have. So then we selected a group of people among that volunteers, and that's how we started this big solution. And then, not just the company, because I wanted to pay some of them, right, with their commitment. Then we started getting some external projects for payments, right? So that is how this entire journey started, right? Purely in the leadership, right? And then with other people, right, we wanted to create, sort of an ecosystem in the university, because we wanted to put that culture change to have 3 choices. Taking this, this kind of a challenge, like starting a company or starting a new idea, is kind of a positive choices of a university student. Now it's there, right? Now then only we started this entrepreneurship society in University of Moderator, right? With the vision of expanding that thing to the entire university system, right? Earlier we were doing it voluntarily, right? Again, as an informal thing. Then our dean, then our vice chancellor, everybody, even other lecturers were also, they were very interested about the positive impact we are creating in the university, right? Then we drafted our constitutions, right? Immediately put in the university senate and got it registered as a formal student union in the university and got all the necessary support from the university administration. Even now also the societies are running in the university, so that is how that entire thing started. All these are a result of leadership, because there was nothing that I did, right? Because I just gave the ignition for the passion that other people had, but through that, right, we managed to get a really good ecosystem. And through that, I managed to find really good partners, right, who are believing in that kind of, impact that they can create. So especially the people who believe in impact that they can create. They were not really interested about the money that they can get. They all wanted to create that impact. Right? This undergraduate life is the best time to invest of that kind of thing. Because no one, right, your parents or your girlfriends or boyfriends, right, or your colleagues, right, they are not expecting anything during this 4 years, right? This 4 years is the only 4-year period you are getting for the rest of your life to play with whatever you want. So use it wisely, right? Use it wisely, because you can't do this at school. That is too restricted, right? But in the university, you can miss the lectures, right? You can do whatever you want, right? If you sit to the final exam, it's okay, right? But if those 4 years, you can do what is it. The people who did that, they become successful people 10 years down the line, right? For sure. And make sure, like he said, to finish your degree, right? If you don't finish your degree, then you are not going that success. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Keerthi. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to shift the focus of this conversation to the impact of digital transformation on leadership. So, our next question is directed at Mr. Rajendra. Mr. Rajendra, how has digital transformation changed leadership for startups? What key skills or approaches do new business leaders need to succeed today?
So I think certainly from an efficiency point of view, technology and digital transformation has certainly made life more easier and productive. Both are very well. Also, when you get into markets, there's no point in developing product if you don't market, especially when you get consumers. Today, digitalization, we were just talking about that before this, the space easy. Social media tapping consumer behavior, gathering up that data is more valuable sometimes than the end product that is selling. For example, I co-founded a digital payment startup 7 years ago. Today we have around 85,000 payment points around the country, and we do around 4 billion rupees worth of payments every month. More than the fees we earn from the transaction, which is very low margin, high volume. The value we get is not from the fees, but from the data insights which you get from the thousands of transactions of the company. The art of monetizing data is beyond, and that's the real art. And this would have happened 10 years ago if you didn't have adaptation of people. Not only from a business point of view, but also from a consumer trust point of view. I think COVID itself gave another impetus to mobile phones that people who were previously reluctant, we were necessarily starting to get used to it, and now everyone who has a mobile phone, who goes to the bank, right? Everyone who uses it. But after you realize is every time you touch there is data, and that data gives some tremendous insights. So for anybody who is trying to get into a startup ecosystem, in terms of leadership, understanding the value of that data will give you that competitive advantage. Of course, there are other issues we need to be mindful when it comes to ethics. How you use that data, for what purpose you use it. There are very clear privacy laws, so to be mindful of privacy is absolutely important. I would say in relation to when we started, I just want to say when I started my postgraduate, when I started my MBA, there wasn't Excel. How many of you have heard of VisiBee? The predecessor to Excel. VisiBee stands is what you see is what you get. And there was no Microsoft. We were playing around with a box called Sinclair computers. Huge box. My wife did a PhD in 1984. When she came out, she joined IEEE. We didn't have microcomputers at that time. The big 43,000 machines they were using would have taken half a room, right? But that's how computing is evolved, and you all are the beneficiaries of that. But the digitalization is really encouraging every point of our lives, regardless of what profession we are in, what age we are in, and where we are. I think for those of you of your generation, the smartness is to understand what you can do with it. That don't get key thing is not to get scared of digitalization. For me, it is only a portfolio of tools to achieve an objective. As long as you understand that and don't let it intimidate you, I think you can make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. So moving on to the next question, Ms. Keerthi, it is directed to you. Why is it important for entrepreneurs to stay grounded in ethical values when building a business? And how can they make integrity a core part of their leadership?
So, I think that is one of the very important value that any leader should have. We have seen in our political leadership, right? So, if we don't, if we don't see that a political leader is not following ethics, that means he is not in the next voting round, right? So, next election, we don't want to vote. So same thing happens with everything. Say if you are not ethical with your client, right? If you are not ethical with your product, if you are not ethical with your team, or if you are not ethical with your shareholders, that means you are killing your business. You can make an unethical one action, right, for a short-term gain, right? But next day or in a month or a year, maybe 5 years down the line, when it is research, right? So you will use that entire, credibility you build, right? There can be mistakes, but if you have done something unethical on purpose, that means end of the day, right? So therefore, it is very important, right? Not only for the business leaders, even with the simple job that we do, right? We have to be bounded by the ethical standards, right? In everything is about ethics. Even at the family level, it is ethics, right? So if we have that ethics, then our life will be very easy. And we don't know how the things will come back to, right? So if you are an ethical person, right, then you have that trust, right? Now let's say, for example, if you want to raise some funds for a product that you want to build, right? So if you build that kind of a good reputation for yourself, right? It's very easy to ask money from those people. Because they know that if you come in, your word is fine, right? That means, let's say we can have hundreds of agreements with people, right? If you break one of those agreements, we have to go to the arbitrator or for a law to settle, right? But people don't want to go through that path. They want your word, right? So if you follow that ethical practice, that means you are ahead of the game, right? Because let's say if you are doing your undergraduate degree, right? You will have 1,000 people similar to you, right? Why you are different? Because of that set of values that you have, right? And there can be multiple companies who are doing similar products like you. And you have a better brand. Why? Because your brand is having better set of ethics and people will believe in your brand than other people's brand. So we have to think about that very seriously.
Mr. Rajendra, my next question is directed to you. We all know that motivation plays a key role in keeping businesses afloat when it comes to tough times. So, how do you keep your team motivated during tough times, especially when resources are limited and progress is slow?
I will give two simple examples, but before I do that, I just want to go back to the previous response I gave. I missed on a point. You know, today when we get into, there are two negatives to the digitalization. One is, you are so tempted now, everything is automated, even your customer selling is probably done with this phone or it's done through online. Very often, you think it's impersonal, so the personal touch goes away. As a result of it, there is a very big risk that however smart you are, that you tend to lose the value of communication. And when, as it said, later in life, when you need to go to somebody face to face and sell yourself or sell a proposition, that's when you understand the value of communication. So don't ever lose the value of communication even though you adapt the digitalization. That's the first point. And second, the risk in this is when you tend to act remote, you don't see people face to face. When you don't see face to face, very often you lose the value of this word. I don't know how many of you have heard, maybe your parents talking about this word called your word, your handshake is better than an agreement. When you are adopting digitalization, where is the handshake? You think, okay, you are sending something on the internet, on the email, it's very easy. Word is your word. Your handshake is so important. Those are 2 points from that side. In terms of crisis, yes, I will give you 2 examples in the last 10 minutes. The same digital payment startup which I co-founded 7 years ago, 2 young guys came from Vancouver, Sri guys, the pitch. We backed these 2 guys, they were both in their mid to late 20s, and we backed them at the end of the third year, or third year, when we were still in prototype mode, both the guys went on a investor conference to Hong Kong, sell their prototype. The day they arrived, that night, the main idea, the guy behind the idea, at 31, he dropped dead with a heart attack. We had a team of about, that time it was about 25, and they were just completely destroyed that day. They had just done 1 2 rounds of funding, and the guy dropped dead, the guy behind him. I still remember the 4 co-founders meeting. We went to Ratpada to the house. The reporting was still not walking. And while we were standing outside with the young co-founding guy who was there, 5 of us took a decision. Regardless of however smart the key guy was, they are going to back the second guy. And the entire team, as long as it takes. It took another 2 years for that guy. He had a different set of skills. But for him to fit into the shoes of the main guy, it took about 18 months to 2 years. Today he is as good as, but one of us, the 5 of us who co-founded it, we all brought different set of skills. But every one of us, while we were doing our own thing, we spent a disproportionate amount of time in the company supporting the guy and the entire team to make them feel that they are not alone. So that was absolutely important. And the other example which I will give you is not what you will hopefully ever go through in your life. How many of you were born before 1996? Most of you are. Anybody who went to school around 1996? Probably not, right? Yes. How many of you can remember January 1996, 31st of January? So 31st of January 1996, so Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock, I was about to sack a guy in the Colombo building on the first floor. Right? And we heard this big noise, commotion, and I still remember like the stupid idiot. I went and like what Sri Lanka and I put my nose against the glass and I looked outside, another car. Right? And I saw this huge lorry parked on the bifurcation facing the center line. I still didn't understand what was going on. And I thought, guys in summer. I saw one guy turning towards me. I saw this huge, like a hollow pole on his shoulder. I still didn't know what this was. Right? My number 2 was a Lebanese guy. I was wearing a French bag. Right? The guy screamed at me and said, "Tia, home, run away." Something instinctively told me to take my face off the mirror, the glass, and I went into the lobby, and within 2 minutes, all I saw was this huge ball of fire in front of me. The roof literally caved. And when I turned back, where I was 2 minutes ago, it was like a cyclone. All the windows and the paint were coming to me like, towards me like a cyclone. I still didn't know what was going on. There were 70 people in the floor. Everyone was running towards the escalator, and as you were moving down, people from down were screaming, "Kotia, Kotia." So nobody could go down the escalator. Then you realize that there were tigers attacking, right? Nobody realized that they were attacking, they bombed the central bank. What we saw was the victim of bombs. Later only I realized the fireball was that one guy who had that thing behind me was a rocket propelled grenade launcher. I think he was aiming at the Bank of Ceylon Tower, but he slipped and fell. And that kept the Shilpo building. That hit me right over my head, right? And what I want to say was, we had to jump over barbed wires, and then the bank was gone out there. We lost 2 guys. And then, this was on a Wednesday. Thursday and Friday was curfew. No cash, no premises, no bank. But the building was in ashes. 2 hours. Next Monday was curfew, Tuesday they opened. Over the weekend, the Red Bank, I started the bank without 1 cent of money in the rooftop of Virasena in Mudupitiya Road. Virasena is the pump manufacturers for the customer. So Mr. Rohan Virasena came to my house that night and said, yeah, I don't have money to do. I don't know what we are going to do. All I can do is the 4th floor is not occupied. Make use of it. I started the bank on that 4th floor without 1 cent of money. Motivated people. I don't know what I did that and motivated people, but we got the 70 people together. But the learning point was never to stay dying and theory. But I was also thing that taught me a lesson. That time I had come as an expatriate from London. I was on a foreign payroll by the French. I could have gone back to France or not. But I took a decision. No one is going to chase me from Sri Lanka. And I decided to remain in Sri Lanka. And it has been 35 years from there I went back. And I walked the walk. So, crisis, probably would never go through what I went through 35 years ago, but the key thing is not the result. If you are leading somebody, you cannot ask somebody else to do what you do. You have to be that's absolutely important. Never get the second and third level to go do something to do. To me, the last 40 years, even if there is a bit of rubbish, if I am not down and think, I won't ask somebody else to do. That's not the issue. You have to do something.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. That was quite a story. So, with the time restraints, let's move on to the next question, Keerthi. So, in a globalized world, how do you adjust your leadership style well with the needs of different cultures? How do you align yourself with people from different backgrounds and take them all in to work for a safe goal?
Sure. So we as a company, we think about our market as so when we target that kind of a market, we can't be sourcing everything from Sri Lanka. Yes, we can do a lot of things from Sri Lanka. We are Sri Lanka. But there are a lot of things that we can bring from other parts of the world. Now, in the future, we see this entire world as one playground, right? If we can source some people from India, Japan, right? Maybe UK, maybe US. Likewise, we can source, right? Their strengths, their values, their out into one team. So we can bring a lot of lot of strengths, right? Lot of strengths because each part out. There's one good example. When we developed this diabetic retinopathy product, right? So we had a good collaboration with the Japanese people, right? We still have that partnership with Japanese people and we co-create. When we go to Japan, right? What we learn was their process, their know-how. So if we can couple our innovations, right? Maybe our knowledge with that know-how and the process, then we can create world-class innovation. Because In Sri Lanka, we don't have that kind of a know-how because we didn't take our product to the world. We don't have world-class brands like Tech brand, right? So we can learn those practices from those people and implement. So actually, we learn a lot of things from those people, especially from these Japanese people. So now we practice those concepts in our products, right? And when it comes to the production kind of activities, we have global supply chain. Each sensor or each chip is being manufactured in different countries, different factories in the world, and they are being assembled in a different factory. So that is how we design our whole supply chain. Then we have a good control over the supply chain, and also we have harnessed the real strength of each country individuals. Like, say for example, when we wanted to produce our own custom sensors for our product, right? We hired a company from China to do that, right? And when we wanted to do a separate communication unit, then we saw a company in Japan to do that kind of thing, right? But we are the IP owner of the product, right? So we know how to connect all these things together and build them. So this is how we managed to organize this global supply chain. Not only us, all the companies who are playing in global scale are doing the same model. So what we did was the same thing, right? So we managed to follow that practice, and that practice is the global practice that we want to pursue. I think I answered the question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keerthi. So, ladies and gentlemen, my final question is directed to Mr. Rajendra. Mr. Rajendra, how important is mentorship when starting a business? Can you share how mentors have influenced your journey as an entrepreneur, and what advice would you give to a new people?
When I look back at the generation in front of you, I think you guys are blessed that now you have so many sources of mentorship. Unlike most people, I think, who are now starting businesses on their own, I'm a late starter, and I started my first own business, my own co-creation at the age of 55. Exactly 9 years ago. So I didn't have mentors that time. When I say mentors, I didn't have, because I had done 3.5 years of decades of corporate life. But one thing I learned, I had one guy whom I looked up upon, who gave me the inspiration that it was never too late in life to start. This gentleman is now 94 years old, and he runs a multi-billion, or he created a multi-billion rupee business in Sri Lanka, which is a household brand. And he told me 10 years ago, when he started this brand, he was 65 years old. This is Mr. Chandra Shankar, who is the founder of Jendo. He is 94 years old now. I was with him at the Capital Sports Meet last Sunday. He was telling me he worked in corporate life for 65 and started the brand at 65. And now it's 29 days, 30th anniversary next year. That gave me the inspiration is never to get in. You guys, now there are so many mentorship programs, both locally as well as overseas. In fact, one of the startups which I co-founded about 3 years ago into solar and electro providing, that team just got selected yesterday to join the Stanford Seed program. It's a 10-month long program sponsored by Stanford University with the South Asian Congo. Mentorship of world class. 15 years ago you would have had that. But today you guys are really blessed with the day hatch. Guys in the north have Yarn IT, and I've been doing that for 10 years in those years. You have a whole team of diaspora again contact. So it's formal and informal mentoring available to your profession. It all should make good use of them today. Because whatever, there are two things. One is technical mentorship. In excelling in whatever technical field you do. But more important is the mentorship of values and what is outside what you have studied. That is where I think the real value comes in getting mentored on the unknown. The pitfalls of it, and you go into water to make sure you know how to test the water before you fall in. So the mentorship is available. If anybody volunteers to mentor for God's sake, accept it. Don't say I want it.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendra. So, ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of this panel discussion on Upskill 2024. I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to Mr. Keerthi and Mr. Rajendra for their amazingly insightful and informative inputs that they gave throughout this panel discussion. I hope that this was a useful session for everyone in the audience, and I sincerely wish that we would be able to see many of you venturing into the world of entrepreneurship with the knowledge that you obtained today. So thanks again for listening to us, and if you have any questions, since we have a time restriction, we might not be able to entertain your questions right now, but if you want to get into contact with our panelists, please feel free to reach the Executive Committee of 5 Young Professionals, Lanka. So we'll see you soon. Hope you will have a great day. Thank you.